Hello, Kat.
Hello, Tiffany. How are you?
I'm all right. Me again. I'm
Yeah,
doing round two of this
delightful
hellscape. No, just
subject.
kidding.
Yeah. I want to apologize if I'm laggy today. I'm like max headroom, like twitching. Some people might not get that.
I don't.
I'm not that much older than you, but anyway,
I
look up max
know.
headroom sometime. But
Well, to be fair, it's probably my fault. I'm pretty culturally illiterate,
no,
so.
it was like a late 80s. He was a digital talk show host.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. That sounds really lovely.
He's in Back to the Future Part 2 at some point, I think.
Okay. I was
So,
never a Back to the Future
too
buff.
bad.
I know. I
That's what
know.
I named Emmett after. But anyway, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, you know what I just realized? Because this
Hmm.
is round two, I didn't really come up with an intro for this, but that's all right. So
We can just
last
start playing the
week,
music if you. Oh yeah, let's do last week on greening
last
up my
week,
act.
yeah, we talked about Citizens United, dun dun dun, which is a Supreme Court case that, I don't know, kind of screwed us over a little bit,
Upended
and
political life as we know it. Yeah.
and just absolutely overloaded the political system with money
Mm-hmm.
from corporate actors, which is always fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, we talked last week. If you missed the episode, it would be good to go back and listen because it's kind of like a quick brief on Citizens United. If you don't know really much about it, because I didn't really know that much about it. I obviously knew the basics, but I didn't really know why it came about, the details of how it came about, and kind of the thinking behind the decision that was made.
Right.
And I hope that I painted a more nuanced picture than I think a lot of people, at least a lot of left-leaning people,
Yeah, we're like Citizens United bad. That's all
evil.
we know. But
Yeah.
why? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's good to get sort of your just a groundwork and understand the foundation of what the law, what brought the law to fruition. And now we are going to be talking sort of about the aftermath and how it changed
Yeah.
climate change progress, and but we're also going to talk about what Democrats say a lot about Citizens United and what they get wrong, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
interesting. It's
Yeah.
really interesting. So, and then at the very end, we're going to talk about proposed solutions. So,
Cool. I'm game.
yeah. So, welcome to Greening Up My Act. Oh, all right. I'm still a little bit snotty, but we're better than we were for
Yeah.
sure.
It's the end of the winter doldrums coming out of your nose
Yeah,
and lungs.
totally.
Hmm. I'm coughing
Uh
some too.
huh.
So.
Uh huh. Yeah, it's amazing. It's like I go out in public and I feel so guilty because I sound so terrible, but I'm like, I
Yeah.
swear I'm not contagious.
I'm not contagious. At least it's not
Yeah.
measles.
Right. What's going on with that measles outbreak?
99 people.
Oh, fuck.
If you really okay, would you like an update? This
We
will
did this
come
last
out.
time and I love it.
Yeah, this will be a week after this episode will come out a week after this news update. But apparently, someone who had measles and was contagious visited a town just south of Austin called San Marcos, and they went to a university. They listed all the places they went, and one of the big gas stations called Buc-ee's. It was like a laundry. Oh, Twin Peaks, the restaurant. They went there. They're like, if you were there between 6 and 9 p.m., you might have been exposed to measles. And then
Oh my god.
they went to another college campus, and yeah, the Buc-ee's gas
How
station.
many places did this
Well,
person go?
they were on I'm guessing they were on a college campus tour or something. And then they went to, they're like, I don't feel good. And they went to I don't know who it was. I'm just guessing based on the,
Whoa.
or they were
Yeah, I
visiting
was like,
friends.
that is quite the tour. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Jesus.
So Anyway, yeah, they're like, wash your hands. But also, if your kids aren't vaccinated, hope you got good insurance.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
So anyway, 99 people in West Texas and New Mexico, and I'm sure the scourge of Austin is coming because 85% of kindergartners in 2023 at the Austin Independent School District were vaccinated.
Ugh. And you said
And
last time if it was
yeah,
under 90,
anything under 95% is like
95.
is a chance of an outbreak. Anything under 90% is like, yeah,
You're screwed.
Say goodbye. Yeah.
Oh no.
Herd immunity has been breached. So
Ugh.
I'm hoping nothing happens. I'm hoping. But yeah, just for the record, anybody, if you were not vaccinated as a child, you can get your vaccination. The MMR, it takes 2 rounds. Go get it.
Oh yeah, measles, mumps, and rubella. Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlie totally has had that. I couldn't remember which vaccine it was.
Yeah.
Involved in.
Yeah.
But...
And if you were born before 1957 but vaccinated between the I forget. There's something. Look it up. If you're born, I think after 1957 but vaccinated before 1968, probably need a booster because the vaccines through those years were not as effective. So,
okay.
But if you are vaccinated, it's a 98% chance you won't get measles, and if you do, it'll just be a light dusting. So,
man, but how do you know? Like, if you do get it, so you're probably not going to get it. But if you do, what if you like accidentally spread it?
well,
That
I mean
sucks.
that's the same thing. Like
You'll get, what are the symptoms? You'll get like bumps.
a runny nose.
Okay, which is every
fever.
day of my life.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing. If you're not feeling well, stay home. Because no matter what, it's probably a virus. Measles has a telltale rash, but you might not get it if you're vaccinated.
Okay.
But you'll probably just
Yeah,
have...
I'm like fever and...
You'll be like, I have a
that's
cold.
every day of
Stay
my
home if you
life.
have a cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, if you have a cough, runny nose, and a fever, stay home. Basically.
Right. Okay. You heard it here, not first.
Yeah. Measles update, right?
Yeah.
So...
This is the state of our world. All right, sweet. So I will talk about my sources real quick because I had some different ones for this segment for part 2. So I looked at on the Whitehouse website. They had, well, actually, no, sorry. It was the Senate. It's like whitehouse.senate.gov. So it's like the Senate speeches. They post like previous speeches by senators. They had one by what's his face, Whitehouse. I can't. His name is so crazy. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, who is like really a big proponent of climate change regulation.
Okay, so that's not the White House. That's his Senate page.
Oh my God, you're right.
Because his
that
last
is
name's Whitehouse.
so funny. I
was like, that sounds like government overreach, but
yeah, I was
it
like,
makes sense now.
Why is
it
the
Whitehouse?
website organized like this? Okay, no, yeah, you're right. That's so funny.
How funny, yeah.
I've just seen the words White House too much lately. So
I wonder if his family was like, you weren't meant for this job. Your last name isn't Senate. You're supposed to be in the White House.
Wouldn't that be funny? You're meant for greater things.
Yeah.
My stupid camera is once again blurry.
We're having technical difficulties galore
We
tonight.
are.
Is Mercury in retrograde?
I think so. All right. There we go. That usually helps. And then I used commoncause.org. I think they're probably pretty liberal leaning, but...
That sounds like it. Yeah, I think they are. I've seen their stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't actually look at them. I was going to say Greenpeace, but I didn't actually read the article. But then Yale.edu, they have like an article about it. So, and then, as mentioned last time, the book Plutocrats United.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big part of this research. So, all right. So, Plutocrats United. This book is about Citizens United and its effect on politics in the United States and democracy. Written by Richard Hasen in 2016. So, he wrote it when Trump was like very early in his office, but he had been elected.
Yes.
But I'm assuming it was like published in 2016, so he probably had written most of it, and then
2012.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
he's like, and by the way.
Yeah, by the way.
Yeah.
But he says that Democrats like to say a few things that are wrong, which how dare he? No, I'm just kidding. I joke.
We're never wrong.
If anybody listens to this, they'll know that we also shit on Democrats, but
yeah. Yes,
maybe less so. But anyway, so he says, like, as I mentioned last time, money doesn't simply buy elections because
right.
lots of money gets thrown at losers.
Right.
That happens pretty frequently where, like, somebody will have more in campaign spending or they'll have more in ads, advertising spent, but they still lose. Another thing is that people often talk about it like Congress people are taking bribes, but
right.
they're actually not. So generally speaking, bribes are extremely rare in Congress. And so the idea that we need to stop politicians from taking bribes is also just kind of like off, because that's not really what we're fighting against. At least previously.
Right.
Who knows what the new rules of the road are, but that's fine.
Didn't we just pardon Rod Boyovich?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
like,
a whole thing.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry.
And then the mayor of New York. Anyway.
Yeah. Corruption. Yeah.
Lord. So, like super PACs, like we talked about them a little bit last time, but they're political action committees. They don't give money directly to candidates. That's just not what they do. That's
right.
not how they operate.
They're not buying you a house. They're not buying you
a yacht. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I'm blurry. Stop being blurry. Camera. I guess it doesn't really matter. And
YouTube cares.
Yeah, well, true. And it's not corruption necessarily either. It's more like the Supreme Court's reading of corruption. And this is kind of interesting and also extremely complicated. So I'm going to give a very basic overview. So the 1976 campaign finance ruling, Buckley versus Vallejo, was a big deal in terms of like campaign finance. It rejected the entire idea that the government could limit money in politics to promote equality, like political equality, as it rejected it as saying that it was wholly foreign to the First Amendment, which I can't even explain. Like, it's so like out of my mind way of thinking that it's like I can kind of get there, because they're basically I don't know. That's what they said.
Okay. I guess there must be some precedent.
I think so.
Yeah.
Unless it's justified by avoiding corruption or the appearance of corruption. And so then when the Citizens United Supreme Court case came around, it's sort of like it basically really like hammered that in that idea of corruption or appearance of corruption. So Justice Anthony Kennedy said that when large donors and spenders ingratiate themselves with elected officials to secure access to them, it's not corruption.
Interesting. Okay.
Isn't that interesting?
I mean, I guess it's okay. Can I tell a side story?
Yes, please.
So one of the things my dad was talking about when I was growing up about lawyers and why people don't trust lawyers is he was talking about ethics of legal billing, for instance. So he said, and this was like a policy at one law firm. I'm not sure if it might be for all lawyers, actually. They say you have a client who you're working on a case for them, and you have to travel to another city to work on that case. So you bill them for the expenses, right? Mm-hmm. But what if you happen to also work on another case while you're there? So you have a meeting with someone that's related to another case. What do you bill to the other case? All of it. You double bill. You bill both clients for all the time and the trip expenses.
Okay.
And the logic is that, well, you would have had to make the trip to meet with the client for the second case anyway. So they would have had to pay for it. It's this weird...
But
and I'm sure my friends who are lawyers, I don't think any of my friends who are lawyers listen to our podcast, so they might be able to explain it. But there's like a different logic
Yeah.
in ethics for law
Right.
that isn't as straightforward as it is for you and me.
Right.
Like, if I am going on a trip for a client and I happen to have a meeting with another client while I'm there, I might expense dinner with the one client, but I'm not going to expense the whole trip with both clients. You know, that would never,
Right.
never.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is like a whole other world.
right.
And yeah, it's like it's not always some the decisions are not always understandable. And
Right.
again, it's like these judges are supposed to be politically unbiased, but they're
That's
coming at it
impossible.
from it
Yeah.
is. It's physically
Human beings are not.
mentally impossible. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just you can't do that.
Yeah. And I think, like, if you're sitting around thinking about the philosophical implications of morality versus ethics, not the same, corruption versus legality, you know, there's some very nuanced definitions that, like,
Yeah.
that's why the study of law is such a big deal, you know, as opposed to, like, I'm a marketing writer. Like, you know,
Yes,
it's not
totally.
as nuanced. Well, maybe it is. Maybe I'm selling us short. We're
Yeah, we're smart.
But yeah, the
We
rules
smart.
we have different logical rules than
Yeah, totally.
judicial and legal.
But it's so interesting because so basically by them saying that provided no basis for limiting money in politics. And
Yeah.
it also fueled super PACs, as
Right.
I mentioned, which don't have limitations as far as like funding.
Right.
And then Justice John Roberts in 2014 took that one step further, which I think is very hard to wrap my head around. He said, ingratiation and access are not only not corruption, they're good for democracy. Because donors embody a central feature of democracy, that constituents support candidates who share their beliefs and interests, and candidates who are elected can be expected to be responsive to those concerns.
Okay. I mean, maybe the argument is
But
that if you're a business person with a lot of money, you would have gotten that from like-minded clients who buy your product. I don't know.
right, I don't understand it really. I'm trying to fix my camera.
Yeah.
I think what we've seen so far is that you cannot possibly say this is good for democracy. Maybe this was 11 years ago, but
Yeah.
now it's like, can we actually get away with saying that?
I mean, I think you and I, who are not rich people,
Yeah.
I mean, we also have to think about the people who create our laws in this country, who enforce the laws in this country, and who decide on what's legal in this country. All three branches of government are run by millionaires. I mean, I'm not even talking about Elon Musk. I'm talking about our senators are all wealthy, all
Yeah.
of them.
Totally.
And, you know, that has to be taken into account about their understanding of, like, well, I'm a citizen.
Yeah.
And they only run around with people like them. They don't have friends on Medicaid, you know?
Right.
Like, you tend to stick to your social class, socioeconomic class in this country. It's very hard to move out of it. Or, you know, it's something one of my friends who is an evolutionary psychologist talked about, like, people who are like, oh, the rich people want to get us all into FEMA camps and, you know, control us. And the fact is, like, they don't think about you, actually. They think about their social strata and people above them. That's how wealth works.
Right.
And so if you have a government and a legal precedent that was written by wealthy people, landowning white men, the precedent is just going to reinforce that over and over. It's that citizens of this country are people who own property and are wealthy, who end up also being white, you know, and male. So, I mean, it would kind of make sense for me, and that's probably not a very good legal explanation. For me, it's a sociological explanation of why this would just get reiterated, is that, well, yeah, everybody I know has money, so
Yeah.
obviously ingratiating yourself to a senator is good citizenship because it means you're involved politically, and that's good citizenship. You know, we
Right.
encourage all of our listeners to be engaged politically, right?
Yeah.
well, if you have money, well, why wouldn't you use that as a way to be a good citizen, right?
Right.
Being involved in your government is good citizenship. So maybe it's something you and I can't wrap our heads around because we don't have millions of dollars to give to the government,
Yeah.
or not to the government. Not okay.
on
I
ads,
just did
yeah.
the fallacy, right?
Yeah.
Not giving it, but to give to political campaigns, right? Or to ingratiate ourselves with senators and whatever.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, and it just gets more complicated from there. So I honestly couldn't wrap my head around the entire.
Yeah. I'm sure there's so much legal precedent and stuff that goes into it that is mind bending for those of us who have never studied it and aren't versed in it. Yeah,
exactly. But I mean, the long and the short of it is that no matter what the intention was, it created a system of inequality in wealth and political power.
Or reinforced one that already existed to a further degree.
Yes. Reinforced it to a large extent.
Much more blatant. It kind of just, Elon Musk tweeted a couple months ago, your government was already run by oligarchs and billionaires, why not cut out the middleman? It's kind of like that. It just feels like that kind of cynical, like, yeah, money runs politics, so why not just cut out the middleman?
Damn.
Although they added a middleman basically by
come on.
super PACs. But anyway.
Fucking, yeah. So in his book, Hasten says, without any politician taking a single bribe, wealth has an increasingly disproportionate influence on our politics.
Yeah.
And then,
just out in the open.
Yeah. And like, so one of the ways that happens, because I was kind of like, it's easy to say, okay, money has power, money is affecting our elections, whatever. But like, how does that happen? And a lot of it is lobbying, which I know most people have heard of lobbying. And, I lived in D.C. for a long time, and K Street was like the lobbyist.
Lobby Central, yep.
Yeah, and I never really associated with anybody like that, but it's kind of wild because lobbyists often are former senators or members of Congress.
Inside
or
track.
Staffers, who have like a lot of connections. Actually, half of retiring senators become lobbyists with 7-figure salaries.
Here comes Mitch McConnell in his retirement. Yep.
Not just 6-figure though, 7 figures. I actually know somebody. I know somebody who knows somebody who's a lobbyist, and I was like, oh my god, to have that size of a house in this area, you probably have to be making like $600,000 a year at least, because it's a woman, but her husband doesn't work. And I was like, whoa. And she's like, no, I think it's like way more than that. And I was like, I can't even wrap my fucking head around that.
How many zeros? I can't.
I can't even imagine. So, and then, so most lobbying, and I found this really interesting in my research, is that most lobbying happens in steakhouses and golf courses all around Washington, D.C. So probably in my county, they're going out to the golf course. And they bundle campaign contributions with personal connections. So they'll because they are so well connected and they have such a wide network, they'll say, oh, we'll introduce you to this person. Oh, we'll do that. And the oil lobby is a big deal, obviously.
Yes. They own our governor in Texas.
Yikes, yeah. That's not surprising. So this lobbying didn't work with the Dodd-Frank Act, which was the Wall Street Reform Act after the 2008 collapse. The finance sector was trying to lobby against this act, but the act passed anyway because the people were so pissed off because everyone was so mad. But then the public attention faded and lobbying went back to working in the shadows because it's like, we don't really see this kind of thing
I'm not connected to these people.
No, we're not going to these steakhouses. Even if we were, we're not at the table.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. But so I talked a little bit about what money in politics can't do, which is outwardly by politicians, necessarily outwardly by elections. But the biggest thing that ads can do, two things. Ads can sway undecided voters and people who don't have strong opinions.
Fair.
Which
Mm-hmm.
most people who vote, who know who they're going to vote for, they're not going to be influenced by any of these ads. Like, for the most part, you know? And so it's the people who are like, I don't really know, or I don't really care, but I'm going to vote anyway.
Right.
They're going to see all of these ads, all of these ads, all of these ads. And as we know as marketing writers, it's like the more you see a face, the more you trust them inherently, even if, or you don't trust them if it's like
right, if it's depicted as evil
negative ad.
or
Yeah. You know, I know somebody who voted for Trump in this election because they didn't like Harris, quote unquote, and I'm like, I wonder why they thought that.
Yeah.
They
What
regret it
media
now.
do you consume? Oh, do they? Okay.
They do, which is crazy. I'm like, really? You didn't fucking think to? Okay. Anyway, how many people? Anyway, it's fine. It's not fine, but it is what it is.
We have to move forward. Yep.
Yeah. So in close elections, ads and like all of this money and all of this spending can make an impact, and it can turn an election.
Yeah.
So it can change the outcome. It doesn't always, but also the other way that it can impact candidates, but also current politicians, is just the threat of having millions of dollars spent against you can persuade someone not to vouch for a cause.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we saw that when Trump got so mad when they switched from Biden to Harris during the campaign. He said, I've already spent $1 billion against Biden. I should get that money back, you know. But, I mean, that's not the same as what you're talking about.
No, but yeah.
This threat of losing money, like, it matters, you know.
Yeah. And it's not even losing money. It's more like
for having a smear campaign. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll talk about this a little bit in a minute, but like a Republican who believes that climate change is something we need to solve. The oil lobby will come in and be like, we're going to spend, if you actually vote for this, we're going to spend $10 million against you in the next election. And we're going to sway X, Y, and Z,
fucking
counties.
gangsters. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so they're like, okay, maybe not, because I want to keep my job.
Right.
So, and I think that's like one of the biggest issues.
Like we don't think about it because it's basically, it's not blackmail exactly, but it kind of is that like, I mean, it's kind of like the gag rule.
Yeah.
In the U.S. about the health department can't talk about gun violence. The NRA has a stranglehold, and it's not because the senators don't care.
Right.
It's because they're blackmailed against doing it because they
want to keep their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Boo.
So, I know, it's gross. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in detail because it kind of gets more gross.
Do you think we should take a break first?
And that's what I was going to say.
Okay, great.
Let's take a quick break.
Oh, perfect.
All right. Back to it. So all right, so we were talking about
Blackmail.
politicians.
Yeah.
Blackmail. Yeah, no, but we were talking about climate. So in the context of climate change, the thing I realized is that it's so obvious when climate change stalled. And I've learned that it seems to coincide exactly with Citizens United.
Ooh, okay.
Which is so scary. So before Citizens United, there was an active, I'm taking this from a source, but I'm going to just repeat it because I think it's a really good phrase. There was an active heartbeat of Republican activity on climate change. And that's true. Like I remember, and it wasn't just pollution back in the 80s or anti-ozone or whatever.
Yeah.
It was climate change, like global warming. So in 2006, Newt Gingrich and Nancy Pelosi made an ad together on the dangers of global warming.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, when you think
now.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like insane to think about. But that was 2006. That wasn't even 10 years ago. Wait, sorry. That was more than 10 years ago. Oh my God.
19. 19. Welcome to being older than 30. Everything was 10 years ago. The 90s, 10 years ago.
No, for real. I'd say like 2000 is like my benchmark. I'm like, wait a minute, it's been 25 fucking years.
Yeah, I know. I know. Y2K was 25 years ago.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Time to invest in ibuprofen.
Right. Okay, well, okay, so that was almost 2 decades ago. But still, it's like 2006 wasn't really that long ago.
No. We have a knowledge, like, Facebook was around in 2006, you know, like cultural things that still exist today were around in 2006. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And, you know, since then, the evidence has only grown stronger for climate change. Obviously, it's happening, and obviously, it's affecting people's daily lives. But then it was like after Citizens United came about in 2010, big oil and fossil fuel money just gushed into the campaign river, is what I wrote. So in 2006, the same year that ad came out, oil and gas spent about $22 million on federal elections, which is a lot of money, but just
not as much as now. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the first election after Citizens United, they spent $73 million. So that they basically boosted it by over $50 million.
They just like tripled it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in 2016, they spent $103 million.
Holy cow. Okay.
Yeah. And so, you know, by 2012, which was 2 years after Citizens United came about, Republicans had all walked back from any major climate legislation. They basically all were like, no, thank you. This is not for me. And
probably because of
some of
blackmail.
them are even like outspoken, Trump, for example, are outspoken climate change deniers. So it's not just that they're not supporting these. And it wasn't just that ad. It was like there was a lot of Republican
I
support.
think even McCain.
Oh yeah,
believed in
McCain was a
climate
big
change.
one.
Yeah.
McCain was a big one. Yeah. So now it's like there's the potential for oil companies to spend millions and millions of dollars for you or against you. And like I said, even the threat of having the oil lobby against you is enough to make most politicians back down.
Jesus Christ. It makes a lot of sense. I had never thought of this, but it makes absolute sense.
Because we're sitting here, and I'm not alone in this, where you're just like, what the... Like, why can't we make any moves?
I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm like, why would you actively fight against things that keep companies from, like, literally poisoning the air you breathe?
Right.
Like, literally, like, you're basically voting to suck on the tailpipe of a car.
Right.
You know? Why would you do that? You know, it's like the economy. It's like, it's not. It's not.
Obviously not the economy. Look at how much money we're spending on these natural disasters. Like, and how much worse it's going to get. And we all know it. Republicans know it. They're not dumb.
Florida is not going to exist in 10 years. And that's the saddest part, I think, is that the areas that are hardest hit are poor red states, you know?
Yes.
I mean, for so many. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox. But yes, so there are.
It's true, though.
I mean, well, that also, California's being burnt off
York.
the edge of the... And New York's flooding. New Orleans is unlivable, you know, 10% of the time.
Right. Yeah.
And, it's just... Yeah. Texas, too. Houston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Houston had a huge floods.
Oh, yeah, from hurricanes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're getting bigger and stronger. And yeah.
So Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, the Whitehouse guy that I had mentioned earlier, he said climate denial and Citizens United are two sides of the same coin.
Wow. Okay. That makes perfect sense.
Isn't that crazy? He has a longer quote that I thought was worth reading. He said this in 2014, so that was a while ago. He said, and he's one of the big... He's Democrat, obviously, but he's like huge into speaking out against all of this bullshit. But He said, "We have senators here who represent historic native villages now washing into the sea and needing relocation because of climate change and sea level rise. We have senators who represent great American coastal cities now overwashed by high tides because of climate change. We have senators representing states swept by drought and wildfire, yet almost none will work on a major climate bill. It's not safe to, ever since Citizens United allowed bullying, polluting, special interests to bombard our elections and threaten and promise to bombard our elections with their attack ads."
Bummer.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty powerful, though, because it actually was longer than that. I cut some of it. But it's like, it's just so frustrating because it's like people are elected to represent the people that they represent.
Right.
But,
and they can't.
Yeah.
Their hands are tied.
Yeah. I mean, sort of, right? But
he's apparently the senator from Rhode Island, just so you know.
Okay.
And Googling him does not, not good news. Don't Google him.
Don't Google him?
Oh, it's a Fox News report.
Oh, okay.
He's being accused of violating ethics rules after backing laws that financially benefited his wife's environmental organization.
That's funny. Okay, well, I would rather I'd look into that elsewhere, but anyway.
Yeah.
Oy.
Okay. Anyway.
So according to Hasten, okay, wait, back up. So that's all awful, right?
Yes.
Awful. So where do we go from here? What are some potential solutions?
Okay.
I cannot physically possibly tell you all of them.
Okay, I'm sure.
There are so many solutions, but in the book, in the Plutocrats United book, Hasten had basically like three main ones that he was proposing, and they're really interesting, right? So it's like kind of thinking about it in a different way. And some of these have even been tried out, and they weren't bad. They didn't go badly. So, according to Hasten, leveling the ability to contribute funds to political campaigns could bring about bad stuff. So that means like completely overturning Citizens United.
Well, yeah, I was wondering, like, you cut off the head of the dragon and 3 more grow back, right?
Yeah, that is kind of what it seems like could happen. I mean, that's one argument. Other people say, Bernie Sanders, for example, says like overturn. But it's complicated.
Right.
So he's saying that if you do overturn it, you could basically entrench incumbents over challengers. So challengers won't have what they need to fight against incumbents because, you know, most of the funding sort of would automatically go over to somebody who's already won before. So that's one line of thinking. There's also this idea of censoring political activity. And to be honest, I didn't really look into that enough to really understand what the hell that even, like, in what sense.
Again, because they decided that it was a First Amendment right to be able to donate money. So, yeah, if you're not allowed to give money to your candidate, you can't ingratiate and build rapport as a good citizen. Right. That it.
Yeah.
Okay. Mental gymnastics.
Yeah. And then also it could potentially give special treatment to media corporations because like I mentioned last time, you know, Michael Moore was exempted because he's media, whatever. So that one I do see.
Well, especially with social media being a completely different beast. It's like
and that was
the
a
Wild
whole
West.
chapter in the book. Who is media? I'm just like, I don't fucking know.
I know. As a content creator on Instagram with 2 million followers. Media.
Yeah. And it's like the thing people say is like, if you act like a journalist and you write like a journalist, then you're a journalist. But it's like, what does that mean?
We're not journalists.
Right.
We don't claim to be journalists. But we're podcasters, so we're media. Right.
Right. So it's extremely complicated. Right. And I it was so much that I couldn't even wrap my head around it. But yeah, so that's the other side of it. So he says some solutions that don't involve completely overturning the law, just sort of working with it and changing it. He says changing the court, the Supreme Court, is the most promising path. Again, he wrote this in 2016, so that was before a lot of people had either died or retired.
And Biden was talking about expanding it to 11, and he didn't.
I forgot about that. Biden didn't do much. Anyway, moving on.
Well, he undid a lot of shit, and then
Yeah.
he did a lot, actually. Like, Bidenomics, we recovered from inflation faster than any country in the world after COVID-19.
Well, and he did actually get like a lot of climate change stuff passed.
He did.
in
It's
the
all been
inflation.
revoked. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Inflation Reduction Act, I don't know what state that's in, but it was sort of like in there, but I'm sure it's anyway,
Trump
It's
has
not
like executive
gone.
ordered the fuck out of it.
oh,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Anyway.
Yeah.
that's
Well,
not
a
surprising.
lot of it. I mean, parts of it piecemeal, in his
Yeah.
flurry of executive orders.
Yeah. Well, anywho's, doesn't matter. Biden was fine, but uninspiring.
Yeah. And
So-
and the appearance of ineffectiveness is
Yeah.
as important as being ineffective these days.
Totally. Yeah. So, and yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
So,
I keep being like, did you know that?
no, it's not you. It's all these thoughts in my brain.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
so we're not going to change the court, at least unless something big happens, right? So there was another idea that Hasten had that New York State actually proposed, where you have public funding that matches small campaign donations. So basically, it's sort of like your 401k match. Like if you donate $100, the public funds will donate another 100, or maybe more than that, like possibly up to like 400 or 600. So that will it match or double it or whatever, like more than double it. And that basically gives a bigger voice to somebody who otherwise doesn't have a lot of money to give. So like I said, New York State proposed it. I didn't look into it. I didn't have time to look into it too much, but it sounded like a super popular idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. He also had another idea on campaign finance vouchers, which is similar, but every person gets a voucher to use toward an election. That's like $100. Isn't that interesting?
That's cute.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool.
It's like voting with your money before the election.
It's like I've never heard of that idea
It's
before.
so weird. Yeah,
But
I can't wrap my
actually-
head around it.
Yeah, I think they tried it in, I want to say Arizona. I think it was Arizona because I was surprised. And it was extremely popular but got overturned by somebody. Probably people who didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's an option. Or he said there's the idea, well, I guess there were 4 big ones, but lobbying subsidies. So basically give legislators policy research consultants that will help them match the might of lobbyists and get their legislation passed. Which is kind of interesting, sort of like nerdy lobbyists, like lobbyist assistants to help.
Yeah.
Which I guess in a way, the think tank that I worked at was they played that role because
Lobby
they
Junior.
did
Yeah.
policy research and they, tried to get it in front of the senators' faces or the senator staff's faces or whatever. But it's different than having like your own consultant. So that's
Interesting.
another
Okay.
idea.
Mm-hmm.
The final idea, which I think is the most realistic / maybe not realistic because of what the Supreme Court has said in the past, but the one I like the most.
Okay.
Is-
Tiffany's choice.
Yeah, campaign finance limits.
Yes. This is my jam.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So, Hasten was saying that he agrees that overly strict limits can lead to censorship.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have it be super tight, or like super small amounts that you can give, maybe that's not the best route to go. But he presents the idea of $25,000 per person in each federal election and $500,000 per 2-year election cycle.
That's still so much money, but yeah.
It's still a shitload of money, but it's not even close to as much as
No,
is
it's not.
possible.
103 million. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know, that seems freaking reasonable to me.
Is it Canada or France? Where
France, I think.
where they can't advertise. All they get an equal hour of public TV time, or like an equal time to speak, like 6 weeks before the election on TV, you know, and they get equal time, and that's it. Like there's no, you can't
Interesting.
advertise at all.
I think I just read that France like put in limitations, like campaign finance limitations.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so on. I mean, right now
I'm
we're
making
just
that up. Yeah.
we're just so worried about our own country burning
Yeah.
to the ground that. But yeah, some other countries have like, no, this is not, and it. I feel like it is so immoral to just burn this money on, you know, there are American citizens starving to death,
Yeah.
and like we can't afford cancer treatment or like
Yeah.
a broken leg, you know,
Or
and
dialysis.
and you know, Kamala Harris can burn $80 million on a losing campaign.
Yeah.
You know, even a
Yeah.
winning campaign. What a waste of money. What an
Yeah.
absolute waste of our resources. We
Yeah.
should be ashamed of ourselves.
Right.
I get it though. Like, yeah, you want to, if your business is threatened by possible governance and you're making, you know, hand over fist money out of it, you want to do everything you can to get that,
Yeah.
keep that money. I mean, that's why Elon
But
Musk
then
is
think
doing
about
this.
how many fucking federal employees are threatened by the fact that Trump is now in office and they didn't have this chance.
No.
You know?
I know.
It's so frustrating.
It's undemocratic. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I support this idea.
Yeah,
The
implementing
court-
it. Yeah.
Yeah, the court.
Yeah, we don't have a Supreme Court.
Yeah.
What is it? I've seen Crunchwraps more supreme than this court.
Oh my god. That's pretty good. So there are a couple of things that I ran into that we can kind of do more in our day-to-day life.
Okay.
And the thing is, this topic is so big, but I'm not here. The thing is, like, I can't be here proposing like solutions because I don't like, that's not my job. My
We're not
job
lawyers.
right now
Yeah.
is to just like educate people and help bring awareness to this because it is such a big deal. But I think it's going to take so much work and so much more than this podcast.
Yeah. Our
Um,
19 YouTube subscribers. Hey, that army's growing. Thank you guys for subscribing.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry the episode got out late this morning.
Oh well, that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like there are small things that we can do, like in our day-to-day life, like putting pressure on corporations to consider clean energy.
Which we're talking about next year or next week.
Yeah.
Well, no, okay, sort of. Similar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. That ties in. And we need to stop funding. This was so interesting. Stop funding anti-climate groups like the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC. I never had heard of them.
No, yeah.
Or-
yeah.
Did you know this? The U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, kind of.
I didn't. Apparently,
well,
I
pro-business. Pro-business is anti-climate.
Yeah, I looked it up, and it's like they have. Somebody was saying that they are like the chamber or like the stopping force behind a lot of, because they have so many oil big
they're in
guys
the
on
same
their
pocket.
board.
Well, yeah, because they're adept businessmen, right?
Yeah.
Supposedly. Yeah.
So like stop funding these groups, but I'm like, fuck, they're anti-climate.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I had no idea.
It makes
Because I
sense
actually
to me.
subscribe to the Chamber of Commerce newsletter for small
Well,
businesses.
yeah.
Because it's like a legit newsletter.
Well,
Damn,
and
maybe I'll unsubscribe.
Chambers of commerce are really great. Like local chambers of commerce are really
Yeah.
great for small businesses. You know.
Yeah.
I was the secretary
Oh, right.
of the Chamber of Commerce in Chama.
Right.
Like
It's
but
just
that's
really
a
disheartening.
town of 1,200 people. Yeah.
Yeah, they actually partnered with, I think it was Kirsten Sinema, whatever her name is. Was she in
Oh,
Arizona?
Sinema. Yes.
Yeah, so they partnered with one of the local chambers of commerce and like tried to overhaul her election. Like tried to get her not elected. It didn't work, but Anyway, they're like actively doing this stuff, so
Yeah.
that's crazy. So just, something to be aware of. And also, we can call on our legislators to support election reform and voting rights, which is something we need to be doing anyway for a million reasons.
Yeah.
So that's kind of all I had. But I still filled 50 minutes of it, so.
High five. Well done.
High five,
I mean,
yeah. It's eye-opening. It was so eye-opening.
It is, because it's just something like, it's a boogeyman, right?
Yeah.
It's a left boogeyman. And it's
Yeah.
like, I really thought it was interesting, the aspects of it that I hadn't considered. That you're right, like, our congresspeople are blackmailed by people with large purses. And, how do we align that with free speech,
Yeah. It's like these senators, like, I don't know how McCain, if he turned by the time he, like, stopped talking about climate change, but probably.
If he was running, he was running for president in 2008.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it feels like we forget that there was a time when Republicans weren't rabid, anti-climate. Like, there were more live and let live, and also, like, protect. I mean, some of the strongest conservationists in the world are hunters.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I won't be able to hunt if these things don't exist anymore. Right. And now it's been politicized that it's like, no, I do want the water. I want the river gone, and I want the beavers dead, and I want the, and it's like, do you? I don't understand.
I don't think most people saying that shit believe it.
No, nobody wants poisoned water and...
No.
Either
that or they're so dissociated with the earth.
Yeah. It's just about owning the libs.
Yeah.
Which is what our FBI deputy director has stated. That's his only goal in life. So, cool.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
So, it was depressing, but eye-opening and very important. So,
thank you for educating. I feel...
educated.
Yeah, I feel more educated, which,
and depressed. I mean, I think one of the biggest takeaways for me was like, holy shit, that's why we can't get anywhere.
Yeah.
One of the biggest reasons, probably.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if there's not any way to do bipartisan anything, then how can you can't do it on your own.
Something I find interesting also in this, because we're talking about media, and this is a sidebar. There was recently a TikTok guy came out and he talked about, and I don't have my notes, but this Supreme Court decision under Reagan, or a law, I think, that media organizations don't have to be factual. They can, and so that was when right-wing media started infiltrating rural areas to, like, misinform people about what policies would actually do, for instance, to farmers. And it's even more stark now, Fox News, which is all opinion journalism, and so is CNN, and MSNBC. Those are not, it's opinion journalism. It's not fact-checked, but they have gone to court and argued that they're just entertainment, Their news is just entertainment, so they can't be held responsible for, nobody in their right mind would believe the things that we've said, but they have influenced two entire generations of people. And same, I will say CNN and MSNBC as well,
they're just less about spouting off pure nonsense.
Yeah, but it's like, I get my hackles up when I listen to, like, some of these very blatantly left-wing political channels. It's opinion journalism is entertainment.
MSNBC is like...
Democracy Now! Is inflammatory.
Yeah.
And there might be some facts in it. And there's some facts in the Fox News. It's just the words that you say that are... And it's evil, and there are, baby killers, and, the inflammatory nature. It's not fact-based journalism. It's opinion-based journalism, and it's
Yeah.
entertainment, and it has been accelerated by social media algorithms so that, confirmation bias is the name of the game. You think they're out to get you, and, the news tells you they are. So
Right.
it's similar. It's these conglomerations with giant amounts of money who get to control the narrative, and, it's Citizens United for media.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Money is the only way to access free speech, apparently.
Right.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
sorry.
do you have any good things? One good thing?
Right. Our good thing. Yeah, I went to the doctor today and got a diagnosis that is helpful, and I wasn't like ignored or swept aside. Like, I got some helpful stuff, and so oh man, my doctor prescribed me some pain medication, which,
Oh, wow.
like, as a woman, it's like, I was like, yeah, I get by on naproxen, and he's like, well, I got a better one for you.
Wow.
So I'm going to prescribe that. I'm like, you actually believe in my pain?
Wow.
And I have pretty good doctors. They generally do, but it was just like, I mean, it's not like I got like a heroin or anything, but
Right.
He's like, you say you have really bad period cramps, and this is what we recommend specifically for those. And I'm like, I have been going to the doctor for bad period cramps for 25 years,
Wow.
Like, oh, now someone's going to recommend something. It was just like I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. Totally.
I wasn't
It's like,
infantilized
finally.
or dismissed.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was just very positive experience for me. So
That's nice.
And given my current history with the medical system, I was ready to burn it all down last week. But and I'm sure I will be next week when my insurance is like, no, we don't want to cover this.
Yeah, I know.
But
oh, God.
I appreciated this doctor and this nurse practitioner, and the sonographer that I had today was fantastic. So
Nice. Very good.
very helpful. Yeah, good experience at the doc. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of random stuff. I'm trying to think of the top one, but I guess my biggest one would be that I decided to vegetable garden again this year.
Yay, good. Oh, it's time. I need to start planting. You're right. I want to do that. I got basil. I'm going to plant the basil.
Nice.
But I need...
Indoors, right?
Oh, well...
I can plant it from seeds. Is that what you're saying?
No, actually, we are regrowing from pre-grown basil.
Oh, nice.
So we clipped it, and it's been growing roots in water, so we're going to plant it.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
But it was
I do that too.
77 degrees
Okay, never mind.
here. Yeah, I mean, it was 20 degrees last week, and it's 77 today. So
Okay.
we think winter is done. I mean,
yeah, that's
winter
true.
here is 45 degrees, so we're still going to have some 45-degree lows, but nothing that will kill my basil plant. So
Okay, yeah, because my ground is still frozen. I tried to put a solar light in, and I was like, "What is this big rock?" And then it was just like everything.
get your hair
was
dryer out
frozen.
there. Yeah.
I was like, "All right, well, this solar light will wait."
Wait until spring.
Yeah, but yeah, I decided because it's a lot of work, right? Vegetable gardening.
It is.
I
Weeding.
decided, yeah,
Bugs.
just
watering.
planning, dealing with I'm nervous about rabbits because we have rabbits in our yard that come in.
I know I have all the squirrels steal my figs. I know the squirrels steal my figs.
Yeah, that's
I need to
funny.
get a net for my fig tree, but
Yeah, that beautiful, beautiful tree net.
my neighbors
Worth
love
it.
it.
Yeah,
It's better than the trash that's out there now, but whatever.
right. Well, and then, yeah. So, and I'm mostly doing it because Charlie's like 4 now, and I kind of really want to instill that in her because she likes helping me in the garden with flowers, but I feel like she really wants to do like carrots. Like she got really excited about it. So, carrots are gonna be hard, but
My
it is what
sister
it is.
grew corn in our backyard when we were little
Yeah,
boys.
I got some
remember.
corn seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, it's just fun to like, hey, it worked.
yes.
It's not just on
exactly.
Disney movies. It actually happens in real life.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I've heard of so many teenagers who are like, and this might just be a trope now, but like, they're like, wait, our stuff grows on trees? Like,
Yeah.
where wait a minute, broccoli grows
Yeah.
in the you don't just get it from, and I don't know if that's real, but I'm
I
just
mean,
nervous.
Yeah.
Like you can grow. I mean, I guess it's true. Like even the idea that you can grow like a lemon from a seed is
Yeah.
kind of amazing.
It is. It really is.
So-
Oh my god, the number of pecans that the squirrels have planted in my planters.
Oh my god.
Every week I'm just like, and it's literally, it's the shoot, and then you pull out the root, and it's a pecan
Yes.
with the root sticking out.
Yep.
And they don't really end up, I mean, they really want to grow in my planters. And I'm like, you don't. I assure you, this much
Yeah.
soil is not going to support a 30-foot tree, but they want it there.
I know. That's how it is here with walnuts. And
Yeah.
it's like, and I pull them out and I'm like, dang it.
Yeah.
I accidentally killed a walnut tree.
Yeah, well, I don't want it
replanted.
in
Yeah,
my
well, I
mom's.
replanted 2 of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to make it, but I tried. So the squirrels are trying to help us, but
Thanks,
alas.
squirrels.
Yeah.
They're doing their job. Squirrels and beavers,
Yep. Yeah, so that's my thing.
That's
I'm very excited for spring and
Yeah.
for it to like. Although I've seen this meme where it's like gardeners in February are like barely running.
Yeah.
They're like walking and then they're running and then they're like absolutely like
Yeah,
flat
sprinting.
by May, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh god, that is so true.
Yeah. Shit, what didn't I plant yet? Yeah, I think Sean will build me a planter and we can figure that out.
Yeah, I got some
We'll see.
like composite ones like
Oh,
5
nice.
years ago.
Yeah.
And they still work. They work fine. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they're easy. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
They like
that's
you
what
can
I want.
you can just basically
Yeah.
click them together. So
Yeah. Cool. Maybe we'll do that.
yeah.
I think Ada just came to visit me. She's checking.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, okay. I want to say next week. Next week we are talking about things you can do to influence polluting companies. It's going
Aha.
to be kind of a softball episode compared to your hard-hitting journalism
Yeah,
that you just
we
did.
need it.
But yeah, we might pour a glass of wine and enjoy it. So
Yeah. You know what? I knew it was gonna be bad.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We have a new Patreon episode up where we complain in depth about this administration and how it affects us personally. So subscribe at patreon.greeningupmyegg.com. You can get 1 week free. So
Oh,
give it a
and I
whirl.
figured out get the Patreon app. That's how you listen
Ah.
to Patreon stuff easily. Because
I
I'm
see.
always confused.
Yeah.
But I figured it out for myself. So
Perfect.
heads up.
All right. We'll see you next week. And
Alrighty.
stay safe, stay sane.
Yes. You
Plant those gardens.
Yes.